Hello everyone, welcome to Spirit Coffee Talk this week. Elyse here. This week we had a really great conversation and there was a lot that came through as we channeled. We didn't really have a plan for what we were going to talk about, but things have been intense, and so it was a really great conversation. The Earth Alliance came through. We talked a lot about how we're in a real movement phase right now. We're coming out of that slow, timelines aren't sure, we're kind of holding the line to now's the time to move. But with that comes a lot of triggers and a lot of really intense shifts for some people. So remembering that you're not alone. We talked about, the idea of calling on your guides, calling on your community and your support systems, and just remembering that, in the first phase of movement, the beginning is the hardest part. So we're in that right now, but it will get easier and things are going to get good. So hope you enjoy. Please like and subscribe and let us know what else you'd like to hear in the comments.
Hi everyone, welcome to Spirit Coffee Talk this week. My name is Elyse and I am joined with Ginette and Lisa, and we are the mediums and channels of Avalon Spirit. And we're off to an interesting start today. It's feels like there's a lot going on. So what we had talked about is we all as a group kind of tuned in, channeled, and just tapped into the energies of what's going on and did a little meditation as a group. And we're just going to kind of go from there. So I don't know who wants to start.
Ginette, you had a good kind of channel. Do you want to share it with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I tuned in, I right away saw the energy of the Earth Alliance, and I saw it in the form of a spaceship. So take it how you want, whether it's real or not. But the Earth Alliance is made up of these three ascended higher realm civilizations. If we want to call it that, other people might call it aliens, others might call it light beings. You can consider it however it resonates for you, but they are made up of Pleiadians, Sirians, and Arcturians. They come from the Arcturus star system, the Pleiades star system, and the Sirius star system. So you guys can Google that stuff if you want background info, but these three particular civilizations make up what's called the Earth Alliance. And the Earth Alliance its whole purpose is to help humanity ascend. That is why they're here, because just as their civilizations have gone through their growth and ascension to become higher dimensional consciousness, Earth is currently going through that process. And so they are really here involved and deeply passionate about helping humanity evolve, just like we will eventually help other civilizations evolve as well. It's the cycle, it's how it goes. So that all being said, the Earth Alliance was near and brought in some really significant messages. So the first thing they said was, I have it all written down here. So they said, we are here with you, with all of you now. You have all taken a big step forward as a collective. So we have all kind of stepped in and stepped up to a certain degree as a collective. And so I was like, well, how have we done that? Like, what does that look like? And they said, it's all from minute changes in frequency patterns that allow them to open communication with us. And so they showed it to me almost like, when you see frequencies on a speaker, when they pour like powder of some sort on a speaker and they play different frequencies, it makes different geometrical patterns depending on the frequency. So with minute frequency changes that we have all individually done by moving through these experiences the last while, we
You okay?
Yeah. We all have shifted the pattern or the geometrical pattern of our frequency a certain amount. And so what that does is that allows them to come in and communicate with us more effectively, more clearly, with stronger intuitions, stronger insights, more clarity of things actually unfolding on Earth, like systems crumbling, things being changed and shifted around. These minute changes in frequency patterns allow them to come in. What it also does is they said, what do you wish to create here in our malleable templates? So we've talked a lot about templates already and how, we were shifting timelines, creating new templates. There's a new template that has come into being for humanity. And there's a certain amount of malleability in our individual journey within that template. And so they're saying, like, follow your heart's calling to discover where and how you use this template. Choose your existence was their words. Shape it to your alignment, which is really, instead of like, choose the alignment that spirit says to do or your guides say to do, they're saying, what do you as a sovereign being want? And what does that look like? And choose your existence and shape it to your alignment. And then they said, we've come in force. And I said, well, that's not usually a way that you guys would express something. You don't usually force anything. And they said, no, not fear, not force by fear or coercion, but many hands on deck to be near to you. So they said that there are many here. There's a great force of them, almost like a workforce. Like there are many here, hands on deck to be near us. And it's interesting because they're like, we are who you were seeing this morning. Because this morning I was doing other tasks and I kept seeing this flashing of this bright blue orb literally right by my head. Normally they're in front of me or around, but it was like, boom, right here, boom, right here. And they're like, that's what we mean. Like we've been around you to show you. It's almost like each individual person can feel like they have their own individual guide from the Earth Alliance. Like that's how much they are all hands on deck right now to, again, create and choose our existence based on shaping it to our alignment. And so then they said it's no longer about containment, rather about action potentials. Like it's time to act now. It's not time to wait and hold back. And it's about acting on what you want now, put it into motion, make it happen. And this really aligns with, like, we have, I can't remember if it's Jupiter or Saturn. I think Jupiter goes direct on Monday. We have Saturn that just went direct. And when a planet goes direct, that creates momentum. We have 5 planets that have gone direct this month or are about to. There's one more on Monday, which means more planetary, collective, solar system movement. So to me, that makes a lot of sense why the Earth Alliance is really kind of like on the ground with us now, saying, what are we creating, guys? Let's go. We got all hands on deck. Let's make stuff happen. What do you want? How are we doing this? We have a malleable template to work with now. Let's create it. And so they finished that by saying, because I asked them, like, okay, so that makes sense in a general idea, but like, how do people actually apply this? Like, how do they know what they want to create? Some people really know and some don't. They're like, I don't know. Like, what does that mean? And they said, look to what inspires you. What do you feel inspired by? And that can give you some areas to start. Like maybe your inspiration is gardening and you want to start to create gardens in your community or schools. And so it's like, make it into an action potential. Or maybe what inspires you is, being a voice of reason in these changing times, saying like, this is not right. This should be like this. Like you feel passionate, be that voice of reason. Like look to what inspires you. What does your inner flame speak about? What does it light up about? That's where you can start with some of these action potentials, as well as cleaning up the things in your life that are frustrating you or not in motion or not aligning with you anymore. Like it's about, I see they're showing me almost like a chessboard right now, and you have all those different pieces and they're like sparking these pilot lights under each of them. They're like lighted up, create those action potentials of sparks. So it actually feels really beautiful and movement oriented, and it's kind of like, wow, we're really now in a place of movement. Like we really are. We've been floating around, especially since we started Spirit Coffee Talk, being like, we're still in a movement. There's still a limbo. We don't know which way things are going, all this kind of stuff. But it's like now we can follow in this path forward. So that's what I got.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. How about you guys?
Well, I think for me, it was a lot of, I can't say the same. It was like, in a roundabout way, but how it kind of came through for me was the whole movement forward has been such a huge thing in my life personally, for people around me, in a collective. And that's how I've been understanding it in all of my life. And when I tune in, it's in the last week, is about like movement forward, right? And like how they were describing it to me, even as you were talking too, was that for some people, it might not be as obvious about taking the next step. It's not like the coast is clear when it actually is. And so then they said how you can identify with knowing that your coast is clear kind of thing to take the next step is that when the things that you normally did in an outdated paradigm don't work anymore. When it feels like you're trying to go down the same path, but your shoelaces are tied together, or you keep stumbling over rocks and boulders, and it's like frustration of why isn't this working anymore, or why is what used to be so easy for me not so easy anymore, and these peoples and these like this or these people and these situations are no longer lining up for me and they used to. It's like they're saying take a step back, and really that is a key identifier if it's an outdated paradigm and not in your like highest good to light your ignition to move forward. And that can be really tough because some of these old paradigms come from like early childhood, right? And so when we talk about triggers, there's a lot of triggers that have come up for people of their past, of their childhoods. They've come up through dreams or confrontations, right? And it's like, why is this a constant battle for me? Why is this a constant? Well, it's because it comes with the outdated paradigm in which you probably learned a long time ago and lived with for a very long time, and it no longer is applicable. You're no longer there anymore. And so with these, you can talk about the cosmos aligning and the planetary alignment. You can talk about these amazing beings that are coming in to help divinely guide us. And that is like, I mean, I connect with that very deeply, but on a very like human level, you can take a look of your inventory and it's like, what isn't working anymore? And then you can really like, without judgment on yourself and without judgment of why it's not working, you can say, this is something that I need to visit to let go of because it's no longer aligning with this ignition to go forward, with this beautiful act of creation that this collective, our earth, is setting us up for ascension, for you to move into your greatest being, to move into this action potential, right? And like we talked about last week, taking an inventory of the luggage that you're bringing, same thing, except it's gonna get more obvious, because it's going to be in your face if it's not to come with you. So they're like, we're ascending super, super quickly. We're here in great force. There's tons of us. So like, where it might have taken a couple months before to do inventory, you're going to come square up to it. And it doesn't have to be in a painful way, but it can be in a way that it's like, wake me up overnight. This is still in my face, being like, this is the inventory. This is the stuff that you boot, and there's different tools and techniques on how to release things, but even acknowledging, saying, no judgment on myself, but this isn't coming with me anymore. And how can I realign with this higher frequency for what I do want? Because if it's holding you up and it's waking you up overnight and it's not coming with you, chances are it's not aligning in the frequency that you actually want. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It's beautiful. Yeah.
It's so interesting. So I was sharing before we started recording that I was getting these like images and they were just kind of like cycling. And I was like, okay, I know there's more to this. And so as you two were talking, these other pieces were coming in, and I should have written them down now because they're starting to leave my brain, but God, stay in there. I need like a note taker, like a spirit note taker that like embeds it in my brain.
Call in an extra guide for your note taker.
Yeah,
you
like,
have a
hey,
note taker guide?
brain's a little fuzzy right now. Can you help me out? But so the visions that I was seeing was like storms, chaos, crumbling, the Tower card in tarot, which often is like representative of things falling apart, things crumbling. And I was like, an upheaval was another one that kept coming up. And as I was sitting in that, I was like, well, that's not an awesome message to share. Like, there's got to be more to this, because usually it's not like doom and gloom and have fun, guys. That's all you get. And so as I was sitting with it for a little bit longer, there's another piece that came through after the fact, but that makes more sense now. But this understanding of right now, the chaos, the upheaval, the everything is bringing things to the surface. And as like both of you were saying, things that are time we need to let go of, things that we need to clear out of our lives, our systems, or whatever. And the importance of bridging the spiritual and the human experience. Because like Lisa, when you were talking about how we have things from childhood, we have things from past lives. Our embryos existed in our grandmothers. Our DNA existed in our grandmothers. We are imprinted with their experiences. We are imprinted with our mother's experiences. We are imprinted with our own experiences. And you could even probably go further back to say past lives from a soul, experiential perspective.
100%.
That is like a biological thing. It's not like, oh, just get over the fact that this happened to me once. It's neural, it's like it's embedded and hardwired into our brains, our bodies, our health, our beings. And I'll be like vulnerable and share here that I've been experiencing some health challenges for the last few years, and they've kind of gotten better, worse, better, worse. And I've been doing what I can from a healing perspective. And I reached this point kind of unexpectedly this week where I was like, I cannot take this anymore. Like I felt debilitated by it. I felt like I cannot live with this pain anymore. I can't live with these things anymore. And I felt, it was on Tuesday night, and I felt completely broken. And it's interesting because this kind of period of time that I get these like flare-ups that happen, it was triggered on the last new moon. And it's been since then that I've been experiencing this. And on Tuesday, I got to this point, and it was not supposed to, like, there's kind of a timing that I can predict usually with it. And this was out of the blue. And I got to this point on Tuesday night where I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't, I don't even know what I would do, but like, I can't, like, spirit, get me out of my body, give me a new one. Like, I can't deal with it. And what I'm getting the understandings of is that for me, and not to say that everybody's illness or experiences are this way, but that when we have triggers, when we have traumas, when we have reactions, when we have things that are cycling in our lives that we can't necessarily feel like we can control or explain, those are our bodies and our minds and our heart's way of protecting us, right? Our triggers are the things, our anxiety is the thing that is telling us, this is scary for you, don't go near it, or disassociate from it, or detach from it, or hide from it, or whatever. And if we don't address those deep-rooted aspects of self, it's not going to go away. Wishing it and manifesting it away is not the thing, right? You have to go inward. And so when I look at this, like going back to the things that I got around crumbling, storms, upheaval, it's like it's bringing all of this stuff up to the surface. And I know we've talked about this before, but it feels extra intense right now that it's bringing all this stuff up to the surface so that we, from a human perspective, from a spiritual perspective, can address what is coming up. And like you said, Lisa, there's multiple ways to do that. Not just saying like, oh, I see this as a trigger. Okay, I'm over it. It's like, do the work, do that shadow work, as they say, right? Do the work to help process and move these things forward so that you can step into that creative, that action, that, time to move forward, spark the fire, do the things. If you're doing the things from a place of fear, of trauma, of being triggered, you're probably going to start to either become paralyzed, and because the fear will come up again, or you're going to create more of the same thing. And again, it's not to say that that's our fault,
kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not our fault, because oftentimes traumas are things that we didn't even have control over, right? So it's not to place blame on ourselves, but to say that, like an illness is your fault, or you created everything in your life, because I don't believe that. I think it's a combination of things, but it's that regardless of how it was created, here it is. So what do I want to do with it? And sometimes that's a kind of unfair universal law of like, something has happened and now I'm the one that has the responsibility to deal with it. But unfortunately, that is the place that we're at. And that's how this works. So what do you want for your life? What is holding you back from it? And take the steps to help support yourself in healing it, because the more you support yourself in healing those traumas, healing those triggers, healing the things that are holding you back or that are coming to the surface that, you can't break free from, the more you are going to be empowered and supported to create new. And if we want to look around the world and see all of the changes that we want, both personally and collectively, we have to start doing some of that healing work first to then create new. You can't it's like that, the analogy of black mold. You can't just like paint over black mold. You can't just like, take out the little piece and okay, now I'm good. It's like, no, it's in the whole house. It's in the walls. You have to scrap it all, start from scratch.
And let it crumble. And that's interesting because this week there was 2 days in a row. So I do these daily messages on my personal YouTube page, and it's daily card readings. And Spirit had told me to use a certain deck. And then the next day again, they're like, use the same deck. I'm like, oh, okay. And both days I pulled this card, which is the crumbling. And it's like the tower card. It's, storminess and these towers that need to crumble. And the whole idea is like, let it fall. Let the things fall around you so then you can clean up, sweep it up, like you said, and start anew. And it's a very collective energy happening right now that reflects internally, individually. And it is deeply connected with the time we are in right now, of this month, of this week, leading up to, the planetary alignments of Monday, the full moon on Wednesday. Like we are being pushed collectively to individually use the timing and the flow from the universe to force these things through, to shift them.
So they keep saying to me too that the speed and the magnitude in which change is occurring is also occurring in the healing and growth.
Yes, 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 exactly.
Don't worry about coming forward and the willingness to look at the stuff that you want to change and confront and saying, I'm ready to sweep it. They said part of our force of coming through is helping you do that at the same speed to ascend. So although sometimes it can be really hard to look at what you want to change and put in the work, like don't think that the work is going to be as like it's kind of as slow as it used to be when at the speed and the magnitude of change is happening. Like we're here, like we're here to help.
It's like that as above so below, right? It's like if it's coming in fast this way, we're also coming in fast this way to support you in shifting it. I love that.
And they're saying the choice has been made for ascension, to move up. So it's not about us getting caught in the feedback loop anymore. And it's like the more that you do that, the more that the blipping, and then you're going to keep moving up in the blip instead of acknowledgement, doing the work, like stepping forward and ascending. It's like it's not going to take as long as you think. It's an escalator instead of like cobblestone steps kind of thing.
Totally.
That's cool. I just got that. I hadn't even put that into, but like don't think it's going to take so long. That's and amazing. You don't have to do it alone. Like that's why they're here, for support, to help guide you. Look for the things that are lighting up to guide you for the next step, for the next right thing. It's like they will continue to lead you and guide you to people, places, events, that kind of stuff, to get you moving forward. And it means stepping out of the box, trying new things, doing things that wouldn't normally, like that's what moving forward is right now.
How can I do this differently?
Yes.
I like the things that come up. Pause. And that was another message with this crumbling card. Again, 2 days in a row was a card that said pause, wait, take a minute. And it's not pause, wait, and stop. It's take a breath for a second and consciously choose how you're going to. And it's funny, that card, Lisa, had steps up. It had the stairway up. And they're like, as you're going up the stairway, like, stop. And what is your next right step? How do you want it to be versus how you just feel like you're being thrown up the stairs or something? Like,
totally
want it to be. And so you're right, like the speed, you can really make that staircase into an escalator if you're working with the universe.
And they're saying the energies right now, like this is literally all coming, the energies of us doing this right now, although done on an individual basis, is the double mission work. Because we're here to evolve greatly as individual souls, but this is massive collective work too. So know that this escalator is an individual journey, but it is actually a part of the collective. So by doing this is actually ascending the collective as well. So they're like, this is very much a double mission work. This is very much a double mission work. Over and over and over. So just know that it's like, you're not alone. You're not alone in this. Even when you feel alone in the pain, the pain of crumbling is hard, but like making the first steps and stuff, you are not alone. It just keeps saying it is a very much a collective thing. You're doing this individually in such a collective way, right? Like the collective they show is the like encompassing, like nurturing part of like the whole ascension. So you're the core of it, you're the nucleus, but the whole part is all moving together, so you're not alone. That's
Totally.
kind of nice to feel. Like for me personally, I'm like, I kind of like that. Thanks.
Sure, and the fact that it's action potentials too. It's not like we're just realizing this and like, wow, but we're gonna be stagnant for a while.
No,
Like,
it's in
oh,
motion already.
yeah, it's in motion, and I love that because it's finally movement. And I think all of us in many ways have been craving movement. Like,
Oh,
let's just move already, please. Like,
yeah.
and can we just get walking? Can we get moving? And so it's very exciting and uplifting to me to see that from the collective, from humanity, that we are in movement now, which means we will see more positive changes surfacing as well, not just the surfacing of dark and things we needed to see. We're
Totally.
gonna see
Don't you see the
positive.
movement? Like they're showing upwards. Like there is a very steady incline of movement, like ascension movement upwards.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't want that to be confused with like better or worse, but like in a ascension perspective, they said the choice has been made. There's no like we're not going to go back into dark age. The choice is made. And the light will win. The light will always win.
Yeah.
That is the trajectory.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. I feel that deeply.
I like that.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, and it's been a consistent message. Starting October, even a little bit, it was trickling in end of September for me too from Spirit. So I say consistent because that's a good thing. It's not a fleeting moment where it shifted. It's like you said, like it's not going backwards, it's going forward, and that's been consistent. And so that's really reassuring to me. The consistency is good.
And the creative part. Sorry, Elyse, I know you haven't. You get to go next.
I'm still, it's still, you go. I'm just taking this.
Okay, so they said too, okay, they're talking like crazy. This is so good because I'm like asking and asking and then I've got nothing. But this is like, so they said something like it's at the beginning when we were talking about igniting the creation part of it, the action, but like creating what you want. They said the creative part of each individual self and therefore the collective is being illuminated right now. So it's almost like when you go into your creative room, right? And the light's off and you're like, nah, I'm not going in there, right? The door has been taken off, the light is on and it is illuminating. It's like, it's not going to be a task to connect with your creative self. It's like that is the light that has been turned on to ignite you. So it's like it's not a tedious thing on what do you want? How do you want to create? It's like it doesn't become a job of the perspective of actually creating what you want. It's like no, the light has been turned on. It's not a tedious job. It's actually just living. It's just going now. And that is the creative. Like the creative mode has taken the reins. And then you create the path because your creative self has taken the front seat. And they're like, that has become an energetic thing. Like that is from these beings that you were talking about. That's part of their force. That's part of why they've come in. They've like ignited our creative selves so that we can have the ability to create what we want, right? And it doesn't seem like a tedious thing.
And that's why they were talking about these templates having a malleability to them, right? They're like clay, like they're giving the clay, like, okay, go.
Yeah.
Mold it.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, it's just power to conscious.
And so some people have a bit of a trigger with that being like, I'm not creative. Like, I don't know what that means. People say that, but I don't. And that's why they're like, you have it too. It's been ignited. So just trust. Just trust in whichever way. Some people journal, some people blah, blah, blah. Some people just go forward and it shows up. Like, you know what I mean? The creative light has been turned on in all.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
So it was coming in from not a different perspective for me, but kind of a different piece around this. And so the last few months, I've really been getting these different understandings in different, I guess, areas of how, when we look at like biology, physiology, and like, I'm not an expert in that, so let me just put that out there. But when we look at like the way the body works, the way the brain works, the way that like plants grow and all of the things. There's parallels that we can see in the way that energetics work, in the way that like the spirit world works. And we're now being able to prove scientifically how spirit world works, right? So what they were saying to me in that realm is kind of like the as above, so below, is that think about if you are motivated and you're inspired to, you're like, okay, I haven't worked out in a year. And you're like, I'm going to go do the thing. And then you start working out. Does it feel good? Does it, when you start to hike up a mountain for the first time in 6 months, does it feel good? No. It feels like you feel like garbage. You feel like you're going to die. You feel like your body cannot do it. You feel like your mind cannot do it. You can't, you're just like, I can't do it. It's hard. I can't do it. That is what is happening. We have been stagnant. We have been sitting for so long in this like whirlwind of whatever is happening. And our brains, our bodies we're tired from an energetic perspective, from the world perspective of everything going on. Everybody's been holding so much. We've been learning so much and taking on so much. We're exhausted. And so we've been sitting and holding space for that. And now, the switch has flipped and we are in action mode. The first part is the hardest part. The first part is when you're starting to hike up that mountain for the first time and your legs are burning and your lungs feel like they're going to explode out of your chest. And maybe you realize like, wow, my health isn't that great. Or, all of these things, all of these limiting beliefs start to come into your brain because you're like, I can't do this. I've never been an athletic person. All these beliefs come up. That's the worst part. You have to move through that. If you stop the hike and you don't continue up that mountain, you're never going to reach the top to feel the benefits and see the benefits of this beautiful view, but you're also not going to get better at it. You're not going to then hike. I'll stop this one, but I'll try in a month. And then you go and do that one and you're like, oh, this one sucks too. It all sucks because I'm not training. I'm not moving through that hardest part right in the first instance, that first period of time to get through that in order to get into the flow state, to get into that piece of like, oh, this is actually, it feels really good now. It feels like I'm excited to go for hikes. I'm excited to be in nature. It might still be really physically challenging, but my mindset is different. I'm stronger. My lungs might be stronger. We're in that we haven't been moving and now we are moving and our bodies, our minds, our spirits are like, it's too much. It feels too much. Exactly. Yeah.
Sore.
Yeah. We're a little energetically out of shape because we've been held in this pattern, right? And then when we think of all of the things that we've been taking on as humanity from just the learnings of, and the as things crumble, the reality of what a lot of this world is made up of, we're also holding that. So we've got this backpack full of extra shit that we're also carrying up the mountain. And our own shit is like, oh, hey, PS, I'm here too.
Yeah.
And it's steep because also,
is massive. So it's not even like, oh, we're going to start off slow. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
And the trajectory is massive on both ends because we're in 4 years of 100 years worth of change.
Yeah.
So it's like, looking from before, it's like, oh, things were slower and easier and steadier. And maybe, I wasn't going through these drastic things. That's just the way it is right now. So it's like everything is amplified. And this part of the movement phase is the hardest part.
It's a good point.
But you're not alone. I keep getting that. It's like
community.
You're not alone.
All hands on deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. See, I love these talks. They're so good. Thank you so much. This is amazing.
It's so great. Well, I think that's really great. I think that's a great place to kind of leave everybody with, to ponder and to, further your creations, especially leading up to the new moon or the full moon, right? Like use that energy potential. Especially, it starts 3 days before the moon too. So even by Sunday, you'll start feeling that energy. So really bring those things to the surface. Use that energy of the greater flow to help it move through. I think that's so important.
Mm-hmm. And isn't there like monsoon type weather coming in in BC. I feel like that's such a representative of like the storm moving in and it's like ready to wash everything away, and then the sun comes out Sunday night. You know what I mean? And then next week is like all of a sudden the song, like I can see clearly.
Totally. Literally, they called it two storms of atmospheric rivers back to back is what we're getting from today
That
until
is
Sunday.
nuts. Yeah,
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah. So
It's a hunker in type of weekend for me, but you're traveling, aren't you?
I'm traveling.
Yay.
So, oh well.
Enjoy it.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that was pretty awesome. So thanks, guys, and thanks everyone who's watching. And you guys, if you're enjoying this, please do like and subscribe and share. And as always, we are open to comments and questions and topics. If you want us to dive into a topic, we're happy to explore that too. So leave them in the comments. All right.
Have a good week.
Have a good week.
Bye.